Hi, this is Dustin Ross coming at you from Las Vegas, Nevada, attempting at breaking into the filmmaking scene, and I am lucky enough to be a guest on the Keith Andrew Network. I think he's doing great things. I think he's a voice for people with disabilities, and I think you should give him a like and a subscribe right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Keith Andrew Network. It is episode 829. That's right, it is 829. Today, we have Dustin Ross. That's right, Dustin Ross here on the Keith Andrew Network. Make sure to like and to subscribe to the Keith Andrew Network. If you're watching on Facebook, make sure to hit that notification. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that bell icon, notification, and subscribe. Never miss an episode of the Keith Andrew Network. And as I always say, I'll catch you later. Alright, so starting off the show, people want to know, what is the Keith Andrew Network? The whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities, to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are, and who you want to be. So prove to them that labels do not dictate. So with that being said, so the first question I want to ask you is, what can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, hi, my name's Dustin. I live in Las Vegas. I've been a lifelong songwriter and musician, kind of an all-around artist. I love to draw and paint and write and all sorts of stuff. But most recently, I am trying to break onto the filmmaking scene here in Las Vegas. I've written a few screenplays. I'm in pre-production right now on my first short film, and pretty exciting stuff. Just trying to get my foot in the door, trying to create my own opportunities.
No, absolutely. So the first question I want to ask you is, have you, besides me obviously, have you worked with people with disabilities, and are you willing to work with people with learning disabilities?
Yeah, absolutely. In the entertainment industry, I absolutely am willing to work with people with any type of disability. Really, I don't think that disabilities, just like you, I don't think that defines who you are or your abilities as a person. I think, I think it's awesome for everybody to get involved. Art is a form of life. It is a form of expression, and filmmaking is a form of art. So I think it belongs to everyone.
No, I agree with you 100%. So the other question I want to ask you, you mentioned you are a writer, filmmaker, and musician. So first question I want to ask you, had a real brain fart. First question I want to ask you is, someone with disabilities wants to follow in your footsteps. How would you go about explaining, being a writer and filmmaker and a musician?
With just like anything else, I think it takes an incredible amount of research, of passion, of determination, perseverance. You, whether you have disabilities or not, you're always, whether you have disabilities or not, you're always going to get knocked down in life, and you're always going to be told or made to feel like you can't do something extraordinary. And I don't think that applies. I don't think that that's true at all. I think that is something, that's a lie that we tell ourselves. So if somebody wants to follow in my footsteps, my humble footsteps, because I haven't done anything extraordinary yet, I have just been doing a ton of research. I try to network. I try to talk to as many people as I can, and I just do as much research as I can on the subject. I think from there, it just falls on, differences of taste and style, things like that. But I think everybody has their own artistic voice to find, and I think that's the biggest part of the process, is finding your own artistic voice, in my opinion.
No, absolutely. Finding your voice is very important. Actually, I was looking at my reflection. It looks like I'm looking down, but whatever. Everything's not going to be perfect, which is
right. Hey, it looks great.
So the first thing I want to ask you is, how many years have you been a professional writer, and how many years have you been a professional filmmaker?
Well, I am still working on becoming a professional, both of those. I got paid to do a little bit of writing work and a little bit of directing work, but I wouldn't call myself a professional yet. I've been at it for about 5 years, and I've come pretty close. I've had some fun doing it, but mainly I've just spent this whole time learning and trying to become a professional. So that's my next step, would be to become a professional writer or a professional filmmaker. Right now, you could say that I'm an amateur.
Well, you can say the same thing about me for my show. This June, and funny enough, we should mention that, but I'll get to it in a second. You can say the same thing about my show. I've been doing this for 8 years, but I've been doing this day in and day out. I want to do this to the day I die. And I'm very passionate about it. I found something, it's like, this is not what someone would say expected me to do, but you have to prove to people, hey, labels don't dictate who you are, who you're going to be. I give you an example. With your hairstyle, if someone saw you, they probably think you work in Hot Topic or something, or Spencer's. Right. But that's not going to define who you are and who you're going to be. You have to show them that you never judge a book by its cover.
Ever. I couldn't agree more.
But while we're on the subject, the one thing I want to say is June 10th at 5 o'clock. It's going to be my 5-year, yeah, we're going backwards. Going to be my 8-year anniversary, and I'd love to have you part of that special episode if you're interested.
Oh, awesome. June 10th. I am going to be in California, so I might not be able to, but if I can, I'll definitely swing by. I'd love to be a part of it. What a special occasion. Happy anniversary.
No, I really appreciate that. And it's the best thing. It's not in person. It's via Skype. So if you have Skype, so are you East Coast or West Coast?
I'm on the West Coast.
All right, so that will be 2 o'clock your time.
Okay, on June 10th?
Yes.
All right, well, I'll check my calendar after we get done here. I'll give it a shot.
No, absolutely. And for people who can't make it, the whole month of June, it's going to be the whole month of June will be my anniversary celebration. So if you can't make it, just like over 500 people I know will want to make it, but can't really make it, or are really busy, especially with the pandemic. So I understand.
Yeah, things are pretty crazy.
But that will be my next question I want to ask you. But the whole month will be about, we can do like a background of mine. You can say, I want to do a shout out, wish you a happy anniversary. So if you can't make it on the show, that's fine. At least you can do a shout out. And for the whole month, I can do like a fan of, I haven't done it in a while, but it will be fan of the day. But it will be a shout out.
Yeah.
Any way you look at it.
Cool.
But the question I want to ask you is, how you been during the pandemic, and has that interfered with your career?
Yeah, it has. It has for me personally. I didn't do real well during the beginning of the pandemic. I guess you could say I'm still not doing very well. It's okay. I'm suffering from some other health problems and some other health issues that the pandemic don't really have anything to do with, but I'm needing a few surgeries here and there. So not really because of the pandemic specifically, but yeah, I mean, things have been slow for me professionally, and personally in my personal life, I'm just in recovery mode, trying to physically heal from some injuries.
No, absolutely. And, we were talking off the air. One of the things about my network is a lot of people say, what is the Keith Andrew Network? Obviously, you heard the catchphrase, before I butchered it. And it's not just about disabilities. Like, yes, I would like to become rich and famous and become, a name people will remember. Not to say, and I'm not calling myself God or anything, but I want my name to be like, when you say my name, I want you to think of what I have accomplished and use that to say, if he can do it, I can do it too. But also with my network, I do the Dumbo parodies, I do the Jumble Book parodies.
That's cool.
A whole bunch of different challenges. And that's what I asked you. If, your kids wanted to be part of it. They're more than welcome to if they ever change their mind.
Oh, right on.
But there's also different parodies. It's like, hey, you like Power Rangers? Well, here's a whole list of people who I interviewed from Power Rangers.
Oh, that's cool.
You like Dragon Ball Z? Here's a whole list. So it's like Power Rangers, Dragon Ball Z, professional wrestling, CEOs that you may or may not heard of. So on my network, it's a little bit of everything. But the key point, the icing on the cake, is the fact I have a learning disability, and I used to hide it and say it makes me embarrassed, but now I really don't give a damn.
Yeah,
it absolutely makes me different. And people that talk about my show says, he has a podcast, you probably have a podcast. What makes you different? It's funny enough, it was one of the questions I was going to ask you, but it's like, what makes you different from your competition? Like, what makes you stand out? It's like, hey, I have a learning disability, and that makes me stick out, and it makes that person unique.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. I mean, we're all, every person in the world is unique, but I think people with learning disabilities, they don't get enough, they don't get enough credit.
No, I agree. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about social media when we come back. Commercial break. It's HB Gibson, home of the X Zone. If you like entertainment, definitely check out HB Gibson. If you're into fitness, eating healthy, drinking healthy, and being in shape, definitely check out Life of a Fighter. But the one thing I want to promote, it's today's Thursday for everyone in Canada, everyone who has, I can't remember the name, but it's available on Impact.com, Impact Wrestling, ImpactWrestling.com, and on the Fight app. You can watch Impact Wrestling tonight. But the one thing I want to promote is make sure to like and subscribe to the Keith Andrew Network. We have tons of great formats and performances on that network. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. But the one thing I want to talk about is disabilities. Disabilities do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. It's approved about making them out to something. Labels do not dictate who you are and going to be. And this show them, look at what you're able to accomplish. With that being said, never judge a book by its cover. But the form I want to ask you, you did so many great things in your career, being a writer, filmmaker, and a musician. Now you don't do magic tricks, like you actually you're like play a guitar. That's musician, I mean.
Yeah. Yep.
So I want to ask you about social media. Can social media make you or break you? Because everyone's saying Facebook is like a dumpster fire. A lot of politicians, Trump. But with all that garbage, do you give thanks to these platforms for getting yourself out there and receiving opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been using Facebook for years now. Before I got into filmmaking, I was remodeling homes, and I used Facebook to find clients for that business. I mean, Facebook, people can say, what they want about it, how, it's whatever. It's, if you use it as the tool that it's there to be utilized as for people like me and you, then I think it is beautiful when utilized correctly. When it's, social media can be dangerous for people, but for businesses and entertainment, I believe in social media. Yeah, for networking.
No, I agree with you 100%. I interviewed a whole bunch of kid actors, and that goes right there, but saying, yes, you want to network, you want to get yourself out there, but at the same time, you have to tune out the garbage. So the one question I want to ask you, I usually save this for the end of the show, but I want to ask you right now. When I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what made you say yes? How do you feel now? And would you recommend it to other people?
Well, if I can speak frankly, what set you apart was you led with the whole, "Hey, I'm Keith Andrews. I'm a talk show host with learning disabilities, and I'm here to prove to the world." You know, basically, your incredible mission statement really caught my eye. I have people with disabilities in my personal life that I love and care for very much. I have worked with the disabled, and I just think learning disabilities is, it's so important that people get the word out there. And when I heard that you were interested in interviewing me, I was flattered, and I'm super excited now to be in the middle of the episode with you. I think you're super great personality, really nice, and I love what you're doing for people with disabilities. You're standing up for everyone. I love it.
No, I really appreciate that a lot. The other thing we're talking about off the air is, people with drug use. My cousin actually died from drug use.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
But then the thing is, a lot of people, you kind of look at it like this: like, you need a license to fish, you need a license to drive, but any idiot can go out and buy a gun. Like, that makes any sense? But I'm for legalizing marijuana because it stimulates the economy. Number one, it makes a lot of money.
Yeah, but I don't consider marijuana a dangerous drug.
No, absolutely. And if you have bad memory, it definitely helps you with your memories. But you have to use it responsibly. Absolutely. That's the biggest thing. With people who drive cars are complete idiots because they don't use the car responsibly.
Exactly.
And I know you wanted to talk about this, so I bring it up. It's kind of like, if you take things and you know what they can and cannot do, then you have nothing to fear. It's not like you're going to throw crap against the wall and say, well, I didn't know the car was going to do this, or I didn't know my bomb was going to explode in my face.
Right.
But, it's, if you do stupid things will happen. And I'm probably like an expert at that because I've done a lot of stupid things. Yesterday,
me both, bro.
Yesterday, I decided to venture out and make my own French toast, and I botched that one up.
I was going to say how to turn out. I've never been brave enough to try French toast. I'm no good in the kitchen.
I got the first two steps perfectly. I got those two steps done. It's kind of the third step when you're flipping the bread. I made it too eggy, and then it didn't taste well. So I kind of gave myself a little food poisoning, but luckily, knock on wood, it's a learning experience. I didn't put myself in the hospital or anything, but
hey, you're doing pretty good. You made it through.
Cooking's not one of my strong points.
Me neither, brother. Me neither.
So with the last 7 minutes, I'm going to pass it over to you. Was there anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to promote? This is your time. I'd
like to just talk about addiction for a second. I've suffered in my life from addiction, from drug addiction, and I know a lot of people are suffering. If anybody out there is hearing this in the interwebs and all the universal wavelengths, and you're struggling with addiction, just know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that you are worth something, you're valuable, and that there are people out there who want to help you. And even if you don't have any friends or family, there are people who value your life and want to see you get better. So just keep that in mind. No matter where you're at in your journey in this life, there's people out there who care for you. That's it.
No, absolutely. Now, wrapping up, do you have any words of wisdom that you want to share for people who want to follow in your footsteps, as you were mentioned before?
Never stop learning, never stop growing. Get to know yourself better, try to be a better person. At the end of the day, being successful is great, but knowing that you did the right thing is the most important.
Absolutely. Now, the last question I'm going to ask you with, as 3 questions, but it all has to do with disabilities.
Okay.
As you were a writer, have you ever ghostwritten, and would you ever be interested to ghostwrite?
I haven't. It's something I haven't really entertained in my head yet. I've got so many stories that I need to write out for myself. I'm going to be busy for the next 10 years writing just all these crazy ideas that come out of my head. But yeah, I would be interested in doing it if the circumstances were right and if I had the time eventually in my life. Well, yeah, I think I would.
No, people always tell me about writing a book, but I'm not really a storyteller, so I'm always looking for people.
Yeah.
And the other question I want to ask you, for your films, have you ever decided or wanted to become like a documentary or reality series, or just kind of like a day in a life? Have you ever thought about doing something like that?
I like reality series. I could see myself wanting to dip a toe in the reality series game later in my career. Getting started that I'm trying to do right now. I haven't even got started. I'm attempting to get started now. I like fiction, feature films. I think that cinema and feature films is just my favorite art form because I think it encompasses most of the other art forms within it, yeah, so later on down the line, I could see myself getting into series writing, but for now, it's just feature films for me, brother. I love it.
And would you be interested, or have you ever played with the idea of doing, like, say, cover songs for people with disabilities? Like, there's so many inspirations out there, but have you ever thought about doing your own?
Yeah, absolutely. That would be super cool. What are you talking about specifically? What are you referring to?
Well, for an example, I'm a big wrestling fan, and if like Monday Night Raw had the Underground, so I was like, well, that's really cool, but maybe I can have the same sound, but the lyrics maybe just based around the KeithAndrewNetWork.
Nice. That's cool. Okay, gonna do some songwriting for yourself. Gonna get some. You need the Keith Andrew Network theme song.
And that would be nice. For the longest time, when I first started, I'm a huge Bret Hart fan. I used his song for my introductions. Then I was like, let's do something else. And there were times where I didn't use the introduction.
Yeah.
I didn't do intros. Now I'm like, maybe I should have my own theme. But it's kind of like, it's a work in progress. But wrapping up the talk show, I want to make sure our fans follow the Keith Andrew Network on social media. If you're a fan of Dumbo, Jumbo Buck, professional wrestling, comedians, graphics, if you're in any expectations that you're looking for great content, definitely come over to the Keith Andrew Network. Wrapping up our talk show segment, it was a real honor and privilege to have me as a guest, and I'm looking forward to part 2 down the road. And I hope I see you on June 10th.